Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me again. So we're going to do a sugar webinar, and I thought it would Hi. Hi, everybody. I'm just here to do a sugar workshop right before Christmas time. And hopefully you'll find some tips that are going to be healthy for you for the Christmas dessert table. Okay, so we're going to talk all about sugar, and we're going to answer that question, is it bad for us? So just letting you know who I am. I am a certified fitness professional with 25 years of experience. My name is Hanifa, and I'm also a certified WholyFit instructor and a registered holistic nutritionist. So I've been both a WholyFit instructor and a registered holistic nutritionist now for 10 years. I'm also the author of a women's fitness and nutrition book called Healthy with Hanifa, a women's guide to holistic health and fitness. I also do specialize a lot in clinical nutrition, so complex cases, everything from Lyme disease to the person having their gallbladder removed to multiple allergies and even that occasional cancer patient. I myself have had many struggles with candida, parasites, allergies, fog, bloating, so I really know where a lot of people are coming from. So we'll start off with the history of sugar and what I mean by sugar. So in this presentation, when I say sugar, I really am referring to the white refined stuff. Okay, there are alternatives to that, but if I say sugar, I mean the white refined stuff. Okay, so this is usually coming from a plant called the sugar cane. And then what they do is they take liquid from the sugar cane plant, and then it goes through several stages of boiling until it's crystallized. And then what they do with these crystals is that they remove the color, they will grind it up. Now that kind of begs the question of whether brown sugar is healthier for you. But before I go into brown sugar, I'll just tell you a little bit about molasses. Molasses is probably from the third stage of boiling. At that point, it's actually pretty healthy from a nutrient standpoint. It's high in iron and several other nutrients. So with brown sugar, it doesn't go as far down the process as white sugar. It is less refined, but what they've got to do to make it brown in some cases is add that molasses into it. So yes, it does contain more minerals, but it's not a lot. It's just in minuscule amounts. And it's still kind of the same family as white sugar. So it might be slightly better, but it's not as great as a lot of people might think. They just think it's great because it's brown. Well, it's still quite refined. I'm not going to read this whole list out to you, but if you're ever checking for sugar on an ingredient label, you're going to come across many different names for it. I just want to point out this one here, cane sugar. I've actually seen cane sugar on a lot of health food products. So just letting you know, the cane sugar is still white sugar. It might sound fancier, but it's still not the best. Also, you've got refined starches. So you're looking at things like pasta, white breads, white crackers, white rice. And the refined starches are seen by the body almost as the same as the white sugar. So if you're looking at white sugar, it's going to have a glycemic index of 100. The glycemic index tells you how quickly a food is converted into sugar in the bloodstream. And generally speaking, the faster it's converted into sugar in the bloodstream, the more bad news it is. So when you're looking at things like white pasta, white breads, white carbs, white rice, a lot of the times it's up there. It's not 100, not at 100, but it's at 70 or at 80. So it's pretty high and converted pretty quickly into blood sugar. All right. So I think I've already answered that question, if it's really bad for us or not. Is sugar really bad for us? And the short answer is for the most part, yes, the white stuff isn't that great. Even in cultures where they have a lot of white rice, they find that the over 60 crowd tend to get diabetes. So it's not the best, but we'll talk about alternatives later on. And why is it bad for you? Well, first of all, it does feed pathogenic gut bacteria. Essentially, you've got good and bad bacteria in your gut, and you want to have more of the good bacteria than the bad bacteria. Usually, if you've got more good bacteria than bad bacteria, that means you've got a good gut, and that would help with increasing immunity. But in this case, with the white stuff, the sugar stuff, it will actually feed the bad strains of bacteria in your gut, and that will lower immunity. It also contributes to burdened liver. So that's what we call a fatty or congested liver, because the liver does filter a lot of the sugar in your blood. So a lot of the blood goes through the liver, and then the liver has to process that sugar. And too much of it, not great for the liver. It will also feed the bacteria in your saliva and in your mouth, and it will multiply and grow because bacteria and fungus and all those pathogenic microbes love sugar. They just thrive on sugar. So in that case, it will multiply and grow, and then you can get more tooth decay. Also, it will contribute to weight gain and conditions such as diabetes too, but you could really say that sugar is the catalyst for things like cancer, for other issues like arthritis, for a lot of the issues it will contribute to. It will also create inflammation. So the cardinal signs of inflammation will be heat, pain, swelling, and it lowers the function of your movements. So just kind of a tangent here. I did cheat, even as a nutritionist, I did cheat on my healthy diet, and I had a really tasty chicken wrap in like the white pita wrap. And then I had some French fries on the side. And because I'm normally quite healthy, the next morning I woke up and I had major joint swelling in my wrists and my left ankle, and that really affected my function. So I was essentially limping around the entire day because of this meal. So that's a sign of inflammation, because that will lower the function of your body. Also, sugar, as we know, it can be very addictive. It tastes really great at the time, but usually the day after or even sooner, you just crave more. You just want more of it. A healthy food doesn't do that. You're just going to eat it and you're going to forget about it and move on with your life. You're not just going to be thinking about it all the time. Also, sugar will create the highs and lows in your body. So you're going to have a sugar spike, and then you're going to drop. And this can lead to depression, especially when you have that drop. So we talked about the white refined carbohydrates, and those are easily broken down, and they also raise your blood sugar levels easily too. On the other hand, you've got complex starches, which are things like legumes and brown rice and couscous if you're not gluten-free, and they don't raise blood sugar as quickly. However, there are some diets that will even cut out the grains because it's still too much sugar that might feed the pathogenic gut microbes. That will be a different webinar altogether. But generally speaking, complex starches are better than the simple starches. And depending on the issue, you might even have to cut out the complex starches too. Okay, fruit sugars, pretty controversial. I think you've heard a lot about fructose and studies that they've done. And yes, on its own, it does act a lot like refined sugar. And yes, it can increase cancer and do all this bad stuff in your body. But when fructose is in its whole form, it has fiber, antioxidants, and minerals. And at that point, it is a much healthier food than when the fructose is just isolated. However, you do have tropical fruits such as papaya, pineapple, and mango, kiwi. You can have those in moderation, but once again, it depends on the person. If diabetes is an issue, or it's in your family, or you're pre-diabetic or just gestationally diabetic, you don't want to have too many of the tropical fruits because they're higher on the glycemic index as well. What about artificial sweeteners? So they're 0 calories, like the aspartame stuff that you get at the supermarket. I am biased because I'm a registered holistic nutritionist, which means that we really encourage that people eat food in its most natural form and also the whole food as well. So with things like aspartame, that is actually something that's chemically bonded in a lab. It's not very natural. It also acts as what we call a neurotoxin. So it goes after the brain cells and the nervous system cells, and it does poison them, especially if you're having it frequently. And that can lead to mood disorders, insomnia, headaches, and neuromuscular issues as well. Well, how about the 0 calorie sweeteners that we see in the health food store, the ones that are supposed to be healthier? So you've got erythritol, stevia, and monk fruit. So this really depends, again, on the person and on what their gut can handle. Erythritol, for example, a lot of people with gut issues may still not be able to handle it. It is very popular in the keto diet, though. So you do have to listen to your body. And the reason why this is an iffy sort of an issue with the erythritol is that it does come from corn, and some people are sensitive to corn. And also because of the fermentation process, there's also some alcohol in it. And whether or not you can withstand alcohol is something that is determined genetically. Also, you've got stevia, which comes from the leaves of the stevia plant. And then you also have monk fruit, which comes from a small round fruit native to China. Generally speaking, these 3 sweeteners are better than the aspartame. And once again, just emphasizing individual tolerance there. So you're going to have to do trial and error, which I'll talk about next. So it depends on bacterial strains, what type of fungus you have in the gut, if you have fungus at all, and then also your genetics. If you don't have any gut issues, most of these sweeteners should be fine. Or again, from a genetic standpoint, you might only be good with 1 or 2. So for example, I don't do well with erythritol, but I'm fine with stevia. I'm not sure about monk fruit because it's really expensive. It's like $20 a bag. So I haven't tried it, but you might find that you're just good with 1 or 2. So everyone's very different when it comes to the healthier sweeteners. However, is there something even better than the erythritol, stevia, and the monk fruit? And the answer is yes. So you've got sweeteners that are even more closer to their natural form. So you've got dates, agave nectar, maple syrup, blackstrap molasses, and my favorite is honey. So again, with the blackstrap molasses, it is still from the sugar cane plant, and it's probably by the 3rd distillation that you're going to get the blackstrap molasses. It is very healthy from a nutrition standpoint, but maybe not from a digestion standpoint. So if you're on an anti-candida protocol or if you're diabetic, this might not be the best. Same thing with any of these, actually. It all depends again. And we're going to talk about how you can figure out what works for your body, what doesn't. But generally speaking, if you're going to be baking or sweetening a smoothie, I do prefer these types of sweeteners here because they are a lot more natural. I really like the honey. Because it's great for the immune system. It also has good bacteria strains in it, and then it's high in antioxidants. So let's talk about your sugar tolerance. So essentially, you can test it yourself. So after having sugar, what you would do is you would wait 1 or 2 hours. And this doesn't have to be the isolated sugar. It could just be the whole dessert that you're eating, or it could be the smoothie that you just had. And then what you want to do is you want to monitor mood, energy, and satiety. So if that sweetener sat right with you, you're going to have mental clarity, you're going to still feel energetic, and you're also going to feel full. However, if it didn't work out for you, you're going to have some issues with your mood. So you might feel nervous, anxious, or irritable, even angry. From an energy standpoint, you might feel hyperactive, or you might feel really tired. And if it didn't work for you, you're going to feel hungry again. As they say, sugar craves sugar. So you might just feel like you want more sugar and you can't stop thinking about it. So a lot of this depends on, once again, your bad versus good bacteria strain, but also your threshold. I do believe that some people have more of a sweet tooth than others and that they can handle more of the sugary desserts. Also your athletic needs. So somebody who's burning the sugar can also withstand more sugar because a lot of their muscles are using up the sugar in their blood. Also, this is very interesting too. It may depend on your ancestry and what your culture is used to. So in some cultures, let's say the South Asian cultures, they have really, really, really super sweet desserts. Whereas in the East Asian cultures, dessert's not a big deal. Yes, desserts exist, but if you've been to your Chinese or Vietnamese restaurant, we don't have a very long list of desserts because it just doesn't factor into our culture very much. So it depends on many factors. Also, current dietary guidelines. So are you diabetic? Are you doing an anti-candida protocol? Are you on keto, right? Because keto will allow you to do the stevia, monk fruit, and all that sort of a thing, but not the agave nectar, not the honey, because those are too high in carbs. So it depends on the current diet that you're on. Also, what are you having your sweet foods with? Are you having with a bit of fat, a bit of protein? If you are, then you're going to find that you might tolerate that sugary dessert more. And then, of course, food sensitivities. Like I said, I really love honey, but I've actually had nutrition clients that came back with a food sensitivity report, and it came back as them being sensitive to honey. So everyone's super different. So you're going to know that you've had too much sugar overall, whether it's too much agave nectar, too much honey, too much white refined sugar, too many desserts. If you feel anxiety, shakiness, hyperactivity, sometimes, once again, the moods come up again. Fog is a big one for sugar, as well as spaciness. Having headaches is a big one. Also, feeling that you're quite bloated might be another one. And then again, like I said, with the hunger, you're just feeling like you're not satisfied. You just had this big bowl of white pasta and you're still hungry. So that means that you've had too much sugar still. So in that case, if you've had too much sugar, what can you do to kind of just even out and balance that out? In that case, you could eat some protein or fat, and a good grab and go one would be nuts. You can also balance it out with eating more greens, because greens are blood cleansing. So if you've got kale chips sitting around, or even if you want to throw together a small salad, that might help. And then you also have fiber, which will help absorb some of the blood sugar. And some examples of fibrous foods would be oatmeal and brown rice. Overall, as a prevention though, and this is why certain dessert recipes and desserts have evolved the way that they have, and it might seem counterintuitive, but I would suggest that you would have some whipped cream or ice cream, especially if you've got a sweet tooth and you know you're just going to want to eat more and more of that dessert, to have the whipped cream or the ice cream, because that can make you feel more satisfied. And that gives you a bit of protein and a bit of fat so that you don't want that second piece. Also, I think we've all had the types of desserts that were just so super rich that you didn't really want a second piece. So that could be a key there too, is really just to favor a small amount of a richer dessert rather than a large amount of a dessert that's kind of light and airy and just makes you want to eat more and more of it. So last but not least, we're just going to talk about tips for healthier Christmas sweets. You want to look up your favorite recipes here. So gone are the days where if you had a vanilla cake, it's got to have 1 cup of butter, 1 cup of white refined sugar, 2 cups of all-purpose flour. That's also white and refined as well. Nowadays, we've got so many alternatives that you can find online. So a lot of these alternatives might include brown rice flour, a gluten-free all-purpose flour. It might use a whole wheat flour if you're not gluten-free. You can digest wheat just fine. Other alternative flours include coconut and almond flour, which are low carb and very tasty. And then I normally tell people to take out the white refined sugar and sweeten it with applesauce. You've got banana, dates, maple syrup, honey, agave nectar, right? Stevia, monk fruit, erythritol, and even occasionally blackstrap molasses, let's say if you're making ginger cookies. Another thing that you want to watch out for too, especially around Christmas time, is that people are bringing donuts, they're bringing chocolates. Just watch that nibbling. It could be very mindless and you're not aware of how much sugar that you're getting in your body because you're taking a truffle here or grabbing a cupcake there. So just be more mindful. I'm not saying don't do it, just be careful. Also nowadays, unlike back when grandma was around, we have a lot of alternative bakeries. So not everyone's doing the white refined stuff anymore. You've got vegan bakeries and healthy bakeries. So in my city, we've got a bakery that specializes in gluten-free. And they'll also cook with brown rice flour, and they'll use agave nectar and maple syrup and all these other good sweeteners like applesauce. So just do a Google search for your local bakeries that are healthier and see what comes up. And then my personal favorite is cinnamon. So start adding cinnamon to your desserts as well as your baked goods, and start looking for more foods with cinnamon in them because cinnamon actually counteracts blood sugar. So when I was doing my nutrition diploma, they actually mentioned cinnamon being very key for people who are diabetic. Now, still very good for you though if you're not diabetic and you're just looking to be healthier. Finding cinnamon in a snack or any of the foods that you normally eat is a really good thing because it balances your blood sugar. So that brings us to the end of our presentation here. I really would like you to just start being more mindful of the amount of sugar that you're having. You want to start avoiding, especially anything that says sugar. So white refined sugar, even the brown sugar, and cane sugar. So start reading those food labels. Number 2, try not to have sugary foods on their own. So when I mentioned dessert, you can definitely have some ice cream or a bit of whipped cream on the side or some nuts just to kind of pair off that blood sugar spike. Number 3, you want to use alternatives and better flours if you can. There's just amazing recipes out there. I've tried a couple of dozen of them and you would never know that they were actually much healthier for you. Also see what you can tolerate though. So I talked a lot about listening to your body 1 to 2 hours after having your dessert and just seeing how you feel. Okay, so we're going to talk about different ways to detoxify from sugar in January. So please join us for that. So I'm just going to open this up for questions. Anybody have any questions? No? Anybody?
I do.
Okay, Crystal, go for it.
Is erythritol ever made out of anything other than corn, or is that always corn?
That's a good question. My understanding that it is really just corn right now. Yeah, or I think, or a corn derivative called dextrose. That's my understanding of it. And that's why it's iffy for some people. Some people will still get like a sugar rush after erythritol and some are fine. And that just depends on whether your body likes corn or not, or if it likes alcohol or not.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that. I appreciate learning about that.
Yeah, no, because I work with an environmental medicine doctor, and she knows this stuff, right? Because she does all these allergy testing. So she's not a huge fan of the erythritol, but I understand that it can be a much better alternative for those who are on a ketogenic or low carb diet. And if you can handle it fine, then you can have it. But if you kind of feel funny after it, it's not just you. It can be quite a sensitive food for some people.
Okay, that's really good to know. Thank you. Yeah.
Great. Anybody else? Anybody else have questions? Okay. All right, that's great. So thank you so much for coming to the workshop, and hope to see you in January. Please let your friends know about this. And I'm going to keep tailoring it to what you guys want, right? This was actually a workshop that somebody else had mentioned oh, how about sugar? Why is it bad for us? And I thought, oh, let's do a workshop on that. So definitely make your comments on the WholyFit side or even underneath this video, and we will do what we can to accommodate. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Hanifa.
Thanks, Hanifa. It was a great session as always.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. It was helpful.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Okay.
Bye.